Yo, Barflies, welcome to the Tailgate Show. You already know it's live. It's done by Barfly, for Barflies and all the Bears fans out there. So we're going to go over the free agent. How does this team come back from, having signed 32 damn players and already being $2 million over the cap? And, a lot of wishful thinking. And, we'll probably walk you right into the fact that we're probably screwed next year. But hey, who knows? We'll go from there. Let me start this by kicking off, with the crew. We'll start it off with Mr. Ryan Badgley, badge of honor with a badge.
Yo, what's up, fellas? Nice little break yesterday last week. Valentine's Day. Hope you got to spend it with your ladies, and it was a good day. Super quiet around the Badgley household. My wife was working. My daughter was working. So I spent Valentine's Day by my lonesome until they got out of work. Man, a lot of interesting news and takes and shit, and Carson Wentz coming to the Bears. Only Carson Wentz was never coming to the Bears. Our good friend Barry McCockiner, tweeting out that Deshaun Watson has been traded to the Bears, which, sorry, Barry, it's just not true. Just enjoy Barry and McCockiner just a little bit longer, and then maybe that news will break.
That's what I was doing. That's what I was doing on Valentine's Day.
Noise.
But yeah, just happy to be back, man. Gonna talk some, some numbers and some free agency. Gonna be a fun show.
Absolutely, man. Next, we got Dirted Bears fan, AC in the place to be. Aaron Current, what up, man?
What's going on, fellas? Y'all need to come down here and get your fucking winter because it's chilling in my backyard and it's drunk. I'm sick of it. I don't like shoveling snow. I swear last week I went out trying to find salt and it was like trying to find gold. Nobody had any salt. And I was like, man, this is Kentucky. I ain't supposed to do this. So, if y'all could come get your winter, I'd appreciate it. I'm ready to talk some Bears with you guys. I'm not much of a numbers guy. I tried to look into it and stuff, and I was like, damn, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. But I guess that's why Ryan Pace gets paid the big bucks, because he's going to have to try to figure this shit out. Let's go.
Yeah, man. There's going to be a lot to talk about. I mean, a lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces going left and right, and who knows who's back and who's not. And it happens when you extend going later in the years, and then you got these guys that are, short time, and you end up with 32 fucking free agents. Last but not least, we got Mr. Mike Schaefer, Magic Mike. Mike, what's up, dude?
What's up? I'll say it's good to be back. I missed the Super Bowl show, so it's been, I think, a month since I've been with you guys. Withdrawal, shakes, all setting in. But it's so good to be back talking Bears football. Plenty of news to go through. The last 3 weeks, I feel like all I've done is shovel snow. AC, not taking the winter back from you. We got 2 feet here, and every single day, it's a carport, it's a sidewalk, it's parking space, it's something that we're digging out. So we're in the same boat, man, and hopefully, I think if the forecasters are correct, which they never are, it looks like this week is the week that we get out of the woods. So we'll see.
Thawing out phase, yeah.
Yeah, happy to be back with y'all. It's been too long.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm going to pass this thing over to Badger real quick. Badger, why don't you start us off with free agents and whatever, and, I'll hop back on in a second. We'll go from there.
Sounds good, man. I just got to say I am super relieved that we did not get Carson Wentz.
Same.
I know there were a lot of people that really thought he would be a good fit here. That was the one name that popped up kind of early on, when the season ended as a possible fit here. And like Nick Foles, I want to know part of it. I'm relieved he ended up in Indy. Matt Nagy has had 3 years with Mitchell Trubisky to turn this guy into a competent quarterback, and he couldn't do it. I like Mitch. I was fine with, only giving him half the field to look at, roll out, whatever. I think, like Keyshawn Johnson said in that article, that you can win with a guy like Trubisky. But at the same time, Wentz was a shell of himself last season. Now, for him to try to come here under a guy who, they haven't fixed a quarterback yet in Nagy's tenure. You look at the guys that have been on this roster and they've played, and there really isn't one quarterback that looks worth a shit coming out of here. Does Mitch have the ability? Yeah, I'm sure he probably does. And maybe with a different coach and some other tutelage, maybe he becomes a better quarterback than he was here.
I think the Colts
were the best. Came here, it would have been a shit show.
I think the Colts were the best fit for Wentz because they have, in my opinion, either the 1 or 2 best offensive lines in the NFL. They got some young up-and-coming wide receivers that they've got to work with. Michael Pittman's bursts onto the scene. I think T.Y. Hilton is a free agent. I don't know if they're looking to bring him back or just try to draft somebody else because they kept their first-round pick, so they can still try to grab a first-round wide receiver to pair with him. They got 3 really good running backs down there. You know what I'm saying? So I think if anywhere for Wentz to go to try to resurrect his career, I think it's a good fit, and they didn't give up the farm for him. So to me, it was a good trade on both sides.
For me, obviously it was a relief to not get him. But I think the other encouraging thing here is that we heard the Bears didn't even make an offer.
Yeah.
And that goes against the grain of the Ryan Pace we know. And so maybe that is it's showing a sign, or he's taking that step where, usually what do we hear? Ryan Pace in a bidding war against himself for this, that, or the other thing. Right. And so that, to me, that was the most encouraging thing to come out of this. I didn't think they'd end up with him. So not getting Wentz, relief, but I didn't think that was going to happen anyway. But to me, the biggest bright spot of this whole situation was hearing that, I think once the Eagles said they wanted a first, I think that's probably when we said, hey, you know what, not for us right now. And they backed away. That the conditional pick that the Colts traded is very likely to turn into a first next year. Cause I think Wentz just has to take 60% or 70% of snaps. And, that was the intention of trading for him. So essentially they're giving up a first. So had we had to do that, it would have been another, Ryan Pace mistake that, we've crucified the guy for the last 7 years. So, again, an encouraging sign that we're maybe growing as a management team.
Yeah.
All that collaboration they're doing.
All that collaboration. Yeah.
So so now you've got Wentz off the market at this point. Obviously Stafford's been gone for a couple weeks now. So at this point, obviously quarterback is an offensive tackle, I think, are the two biggest positions here in free agency that we need to address. And obviously, depending on the Allen Robinson situation, wide receiver as well. Um, where do we go at this point from quarterback? You look at this position currently on our roster. We have Nick Foles. For him to come off of the roster, I believe it would be a $3.7 million cap hit, and there would be $10 million in dead money left if we were to cut Nick Foles. Well, considering we're already over the cap at this point, that's really not an option. So Nick Foles is on this roster next year. Now, obviously, that's going to depend on what the Bears do. I think a majority of everybody in the chat on the show, I think we're all on the Watson train. But what are you going to have to give up, and what's it going to take to get a guy like that? So we've got some other options here to talk about today. And, to me, I just don't know with the Nagy offense. To me, it isn't going to matter who you bring in here unless it's a Deshaun Watson or a Dak Prescott, because the guys on this list are capable quarterbacks, but at the same time, where and what have they done to get their teams into the playoffs, far into the playoffs, to win a Super? You know what I mean? So let's really just attack this quarterback position. And Eldo, if you want to throw up the names of the free agent quarterbacks, we'll go off of that list and kind of go one by one and talk positive and negatives here about each of these guys. Obviously, number one on that list is our own quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky. I think we've beaten him with a dead horse, and you've heard it from some Chicago media folks already. Mitch, I don't think wants to be back here. I said this.
If I was him, I wouldn't want to be back.
Yeah, I said this during the season.
Nagy's had plenty of time to do something with him, and rather than build him up, it seemed like he was just looking for the first chance he could to pull him out. And I guess I'll take it from here. Number 2 on the list is Dak Prescott. He's a damn good quarterback. He blew out his knee, so obviously there's injury concerns, but the biggest thing with me is he wants $40 million, and somebody's going to give him $40 million. We just touched on our cap space issue. We can't give him $40 million. So to me, and I'm a little biased because he has an incredible beard like myself. I'm going to go with Fitzmagic. I know the guy, he's like an ageless wonder. The dude just does it. I mean, he went out last year with the Miami Dolphins and looked really good in that offense. They'd pull him out because they wanted to see what Tua had, and the offense would kind of falter a little bit. And then the next game, they'd throw Fitzmagic back in, and he'd just do his thing. And so to me, if I'm going for a free agent, I'm going Fitzpatrick. And I don't know if you guys wanted to talk about other quarterbacks that are on the that are able to be traded for. I feel like Deshaun Watson is out of our reach. We don't have the ammunition to get a Deshaun Watson. I know Bobby's all in with Deshaun.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have him in Chicago. Like I've said multiple times, he was my guy in that draft, but we drafted Mitch instead. But I don't think we have the ammunition, nor do we have the salary cap to bring in Deshaun Watson.
I think that if you wanted Watson, you can make it work. The problem is we have the ammunition, but do you want to use it or not? Do you want to expend all that? And it's going to be a hefty price. And like we said before, the flip side of it is it doesn't matter what you're bringing to the table because Watson has to sign his no trade clause. Now, granted, Houston might not want to trade him for it, right? But say Miami goes in there and offers 4 first-round picks and whoever else, right? Or Carolina, like was mentioned that Carolina's willing to put McCaffrey in for a Deshaun Watson deal. If Watson doesn't sign his no trade clause for Miami or Carolina, it doesn't fucking matter what they bring to the table. It all depends on Watson's how well he's going to stick to his guns, right? Because if he's like, I'm not playing for you guys, and that's it, you can, like Cutler had said, just don't show up, and they're going to have to figure out something. That's what Cutler did. Cutler, you know, that whole thing with the Broncos. Oh, we're not getting rid of Jay. Jay's staying here. Jay just didn't show up, and what happened? You have to get rid of him, and in order to provide any value for your organization, no matter how bad you want to keep the guy, it's just it's like a girlfriend. If that chick ain't coming back, you can like think that she's yours all you want, but when she doesn't show up and like won't return your calls and shit, I mean, that's it, man. It's over. So depending on where he's willing to go and what he's willing to sign, that's all Houston really has to deal with. I don't think any organization gives a shit about what Houston wants for him, because that doesn't matter. It's where does Watson want to play? And then after that step, let's work something. And I think everybody but the Texans have an advantage here, because as long as Watson wants to come to you, I mean, it's either that or nothing. So you either take that or Houston gets nothing, and they get more drama, and Watson sitting on the sidelines for the rest of the year. So I don't know, man. Let me throw this over real quick though and introduce our boy, Mr. Ryan Kirkland Billings. The fireman's in the house. What up, KB?
What's going on, fellas? Boy, I bet you I ain't never seen a Bears fan dance in the flow. Never seen a Bears fan dance. I'm playing. Let me stop. What's going on, boys, man?
Looking like a TikToker over here.
Man, I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to get famous, baby. Oh, yeah. But, man, you know what I'm saying? Your boy in the building, man. You know, it came a little late to the party, man. Had some things to do around the station first. But, you know, we here now, man. What I missed, man? What we on? See, we talking about this quarterback thing,
None.
man.
You missed my computer freezing up and the dudes having to take over and then me trying to do other shit. You know, you missed the usual. The same old shit every week.
Hey, man. I was going to say, y'all had me on the, you know what I'm saying, the personal cam. Your boy was looking a little big. Today's a cute day. Hey, you know? Yeah.
Man, is this what spending all these times with dudes in a firehouse gets you?
Man, you laughing this morning before the calls, man. I was feeding squirrels. Hey, that's what it's all about, baby. You know what I'm saying? Got to keep the grooming going. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of Valentine's Day,
had to do the Captain Morgan pose with it. But no, man. So, man, about this quarterback thing, man. Man, it's a tough situation to be in right now.
Yeah.
I posted a video in our chat earlier, man, about the Keyshawn Johnson conversation. I mean, the more and more it starts to look like it, man. It's either going to be Foles or possibly Trubisky if you can convince him to come back. But to be honest, like everybody's saying, if I'm Trubisky, I wouldn't want to come back. Yeah. Why would I want to be on a team with a coach that gave up on me? Why would I want to be on a team with the fans who are going to boo you every time you come onto the field?
Man,
I mean, he's in a lose-lose situation. I feel like Trubisky could come out, have a solid season, and still be looked at as, oh, well, he didn't do this enough. Oh, well, he lost that one key game in the beginning of the year or in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
Trubisky's just in a bad situation. And then you have to look at what the other options are. Maybe a Ben Roethlisberger is an option if they're willing to part with him. But nobody wants Ben Roethlisberger. That ability to be non-mobile. We've seen what that was like with Nick Foles, when Nick Foles could have ran for 2 yards and was like, I'm good on that.
Yeah.
And
I think I told you guys in the chat what I felt about Ben Roethlisberger. Even, you know, being in the AFC North's viewing area, I've seen quite a bit of Big Ben. And even when he was at the top of his game, his biggest attributes was the ability to break tackles in the backfield because he's built like a fucking linebacker and pushing the ball down the field. You know, he hit Antonio on the deep route. Juju, you know what I'm saying? He was all about pushing it down the field. And with a head coach that runs the most curls in the league, I just don't feel like he fits our system. And
But
if I
that's the
was
thing.
him,
What is
why
our
would I want
system?
to come? If I was him, why would I want to come here when I'm 40 years old? I could easily retire. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And you
Yeah,
want to
see,
talk
that's my
about
thing.
places Mitch
What
can
is our
go?
system? What's our system, though? You know what I'm saying?
Curls and
At one
screens.
point, I was gonna say at one point, was it throwing it down the field? Because you look at it, Nagy's offense is supposed to be going down the field. That's what Kansas City's offense was before. When do we go down the field? it's
Once or
like you said, it's
twice a
all
month.
curls and screens. So
Yeah.
I mean, Pittsburgh would have to cut him for this to even be a conversation. So,
Right.
so many realistic scenarios. There's so many trade scenarios or free agents that we could sign that the Ben deal, I think, it comes later if they cut him. And
I think Ben's going to retire. That's just my opinion. He won't do it right away because he's thinking about it right now. But he's been contemplating it for 3 or 4 years. Like, do I really want to put my body through this over and over and over again? I don't think he wants to. I think he's going to retire, honestly.
Right. And I just want to kind of touch on the Watson thing a little bit too. Like, there's no price that's too high. To me, it's not about like, what are we willing to part with? If you get Deshaun Watson, you got 10 years to rebuild positions that can be rebuilt pretty quickly. So if you can make it happen, great. The chances of it happening are insanely low because there are 25 NFL teams that want him. There are 25 teams, and probably more, it might be 26, 27 teams that could use him and would be willing to part with the same assets or better than we have. Right. Then you've got the layer of, well, he's got to want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And we led this show off talking about how we're fucked. So
yeah.
The of us are talking about how we're fucked. Like, what do you think Deshaun Watson? So as much as I would be a fan of something like that happening, I think the realistic chances of that happening are just insanely low. So you got to move on. You gotta think about what's realistic. You look at some trade scenarios. You look at free agents out there. I was telling you guys pre-show, the one guy that I talked myself into this week is, you're not going to Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew. The cost to acquire him is going to be low, right? You could trade, it's going to be a 4th-round pick, a 5th-round pick, and you also would probably be unloading Foles in that situation, right? Because Trevor Lawrence.
Jacksonville's going to take Foles back?
I think they would, because the only reason they'd keep Minshew around is they just need somebody that's going to be able to guide Trevor Lawrence. And Nick Foles can be great at that. Like, they wouldn't be taking Nick Foles back because he's a great quarterback. They're taking him back to be a leader. And I think he has those qualities and those capabilities. So you get that too. You get 2 years of paying him less than $1 million or around $1 million. The kid has some ceiling. Like, the kid has some space to be developed and grow. I agree that Matt Nagy's probably not the right guy to be doing that. But we also got split on the coaching staff that was with Minshew in 2019 when he had his great season. So to me, like, is that my optimal scenario? No, I want Deshaun Watson, and I'll pay whatever we got to pay to get him. But when I look at some of the realistic options that are out there, do I want to overpay somebody in free agency that's marginally better than Mitchell Trubisky? No.
Right. Yeah.
Do I maybe trade? I mean, I think your other route is you look at who some of these teams that are picking early in the first round take, and there might be some teams willing to part ways with their quarterbacks, like maybe Matt Ryan, right, in Atlanta. They take a quarterback. But
the Jets.
But again, what's happening there? Well, you're waiting till after the draft, and I don't think that's something we want to do. We want to know the future before the draft. We obviously want to take a quarterback too. It's our highest area of need. But that's why, to me, Minshew just makes a lot of sense. Is he going to be a savior? No.
Well, I'm in the camp of draft a quarterback, and I've talked about Mac Jones many times on this show. A lot of people now on Twitter and Facebook, etc., seem to be all of a sudden they're talking about Mac Jones. They're like, we've been a fan of his since September, so they're trying to be like they were the first ones or whatever. But I mean, if we want to talk about who was the first ones, I've said it many times, Mac Jones was committed to Kentucky prior to jumping to Alabama, which I can't fault him for that. So I've been a Mac Jones fan for about 4 years now. So y'all want to jump on the bandwagon now, go ahead.
Hey, look at I mean, so just I know you guys all got your people, right? Mac Jones and Gardner and this. Do any of these people save Pace and Nagy's job?
I was going to throw out a name here.
Go ahead.
What about Derek Carr? It seems like he's always on the trade block. I don't know what it'll cost to get him. What do you guys think? I like Derek Carr, and I liked him in that draft.
I like Doug's comment in the chat. It's like he was in this room before we kicked off the show, because that's exactly what I said, Doug. The whole, Alex Smith, do we take a run on him, or do we go after Teddy, old sweaty Teddy? But yeah, we talked about this for a couple of minutes before we even kicked off the show, Doug. So, I mean, at least there's fucking, somebody on the same page as me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this because I feel like that wouldn't be the baddest play if you can find a way to trade Nick Foles and you get rid of Foles and you can get Alex Smith to come in for a year or two, maybe. Maybe it's the possibility at 20 of instead of trading up, you trade back, and then you go after a Kyle Trask. You get some picks, and then you try to fix the damn old line. If that's really the biggest issue, you grab a tackle, have them go to the right tackle, and then you fill out from there. You got Leatherwood. We already know Penny so well. However you say his name, he's gonna be gone. But maybe you go get the Alex Smith. And you let him play for a year or two, and you go get a Kyle Trask, and you see what you have in a Kyle Trask. Yeah. Because I mean, at one point the kid was talked up to be a first round pick, and now all of a sudden he's a second rounder or later.
Aldo hates Kyle Trask. He says he's a worse Mitchell Trubisky, and he asked me to come on Draft on Tap and talk about why he's not. And I don't know if you want to hop in here or not, Aldo. I will tell you right now why he is not. Kyle Trask played in the greatest conference in college football. This man put up Heisman numbers at Florida. And in every game other than the Oklahoma game where he didn't have his top 4 targets, the dude was putting up Madden numbers. All he does is win. He was in the Heisman talk. When did we hear Mitch Trubisky in Heisman talk? Who did Mitch Trubisky play in college? He played against Duke, Wake Forest, a Miami team who hasn't been good since the early 2000s. So that's why he's better than Mitch.
And my only thing would be this. If there would be an Alex Smith in Chicago, he's already at more of an advantage than Trubisky's ever been at. But he would actually have somebody he could sit behind.
He's already at a disadvantage, though, because we all keep complaining about the line, and this is the dude who's, he's got some injury issues. That's why I'm more on the sweaty Teddy side than I am the Alex Smith side. But before we move on with any of this, let's let the Godfather, retaliate, put his fucking hitman in a row and retaliate against this bearded fucking guy down in Kentucky.
This is my fucking show, Bobby.
Let us not forget, this is the Aaron Current show with the Barfly Tailgaters.
With a bunch of other random dudes.
He said, we the goddamn backup dancers. Ain't that
dancing, fellas. Listen, Kyle Trask is what I heard Aaron say is that he was comparing him to Mitch Trubisky's college. That's not, to me, a convincing argument, comparing him to and saying that he's better than Mitch Trubisky. So he's better than Mitch Trubisky. So what? Mitch Trubisky has not proven himself to be a quarterback that can take you to the Super Bowl. I hear you say that he won the Heisman. The Heisman Trophy doesn't matter in professional football. How many Heisman Trophy winners have gone on to have great professional football careers? There's not a whole lot of them. And what I see on tape, and I should say they haven't done a thorough analysis, but I watched a couple of games from Florida this season. And so what I've seen is a guy that just makes half-field reads. He really is a good comparison to Mitchell Trubisky in that he doesn't process the quarterbacks that you want. When I look at a quarterback, the number one thing for me is accuracy, and his accuracy is not too bad. But the number two thing is how quickly can I process? I look over here, that guy's covered. I look over here, that guy is covered for a brief second, but I see that the safety is still in that spot, so I'm not going to risk a throw. I look over here at my third receiver. That's the guy I'm throwing to, and you got to do that all within 2.5 seconds. And Trask is not that quarterback. He doesn't scan the field, and so to me, he's a guy that you draft. The highest would be second round, but to me, he's really a third round quality quarterback. That's my
Aldo, I was gonna say Aldo. So with what I was proposing, would you be okay with that situation? If we were at 20, there's no quarterback there that you're willing to take at that point. Would you be willing to trade back and then take him possibly in the second round?
Absolutely. The option of trading out of the 20th pick and adding draft picks makes a lot of sense. You guys have been talking about the offensive line. There is a ton of talent on this offensive line. I, along with Danny Shimon, Neil Stopchinski on the Draft on Tap show, we've been talking about the depth of the offensive line. This week, it was Dane Brugler of The Athletic. I sent him a tweet asking, do you think you can find a starter at the third round for the left tackle position? He said yes, because that's how deep this offensive line crop is. And
Walker Little out of Stanford, he might be a guy you can grab in that third round. He can play some left tackle, and I don't know if he'll be able to do it as a rookie, but in the future, he could be groomed into that spot.
Right,
the kid out of North Dakota State.
The one quarterback that I really like a lot, that he should be available in round 3 or maybe even round 4, like Dak Prescott was, and he's a guy that I comp a lot to Dak Prescott, is Jamie Newman, the guy that played at Wake Forest. He transferred over to Georgia, didn't play because he opted out. He needs development time. I'm not saying he's going to come in his first season and perform like that, but let's remember, Dak didn't exactly, wow the league in his rookie year. What he had was Ezekiel Elliott and an outstanding offensive line. That Cowboys offense was built on almost 60% run, 40% passing, and Dak made the key passing plays on key downs. And so Jamie Newman may not be at that level right now, particularly because he opted out, but he's a guy that you could draft in day 3 of the draft, and he could provide a solution to the quarterback problem in 2022, probably not 2021. But I love that guy's talent.
I just haven't seen much out of Jamie Newman that I've really liked. He played at Wake Forest, and then he transferred to Georgia, where he would have had a chance to show, move his draft stock up. Because, as I said, this year with the COVID year, SEC teams played all SEC schedules, and that would have, boosted him through the roof if he played well. But he chose not to play, and that's another thing that I like about Kyle Trask. He sat behind Felipe Franks, and when Felipe Franks got hurt, Kyle Trask came in. He threw, I think, 3 touchdowns in that very first game, in the second half of that game when he got hurt. And Felipe Franks ended up having to transfer to Arkansas. And Kyle Trask never gave up that spot since then. He waited for his turn, and he took his chances, and he just did his thing. I'm not saying pick him at 20. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, he's definitely not worth a first rounder. But
right,
I
like KB's. I like KB what he said. Trade him back a little bit. If we can grab Alex Leatherwood, I think you could stick him right into that right tackle spot. We're supposed to be talking free agency here, and we're already talking draft. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. I get excited about the draft. It's like Christmas to me.
But I think
you just stick Alex Leatherwood at right tackle, and then if you can grab Kyle Trask either second, or even if he continues to fall and you grab him in the third round, I think the kid's a winner. I think, unlike you, Otto, I think he does have accuracy. He's got moxie. He's got leadership that you look for in a quarterback position. And I get excited about it. I'm sorry, guys. I had to go off there.
By the way,
the
highlights that you're watching are not Kyle Trask, because those are
Jamie Newman.
These are Jamie Newman, right?
Yeah.
I'll let you guys go back to the show, and I'll enjoy listening to you guys as always, man. Great
Cheers,
job.
Aldo.
Later on.
Thanks, Aldo.
You got
Hey, so let's we could spend hours talking about quarterback and quarterback situation and who's who and who would best fit, right? But let's move on from this. Let's go more along the lines of the guys that we have that are free agents. That because we need cap space. Which guys? I don't want to say which guys don't you want to come back because I think that that's more than we do want to come back, right? So let's go with guys that you're willing to forego, guys that you're willing to let walk out the door. And I mean, I think we're all assuming that A-Rob gets franchise tagged, right? That A-Rob gets a tag.
I think it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
For the Bears.
everybody's along the lines of A-Rob getting a tag. Who do you think absolutely needs to be back here that we need to re-sign and bring in here out of these 32? Well, it's 30 now, but out of these 30 free agents that we have that are out there. Badge, we'll start this thing off with you, man. Who has to come back?
To me, I think Barcavius Mingo. I think he's a good depth piece at the edge. I thought he played the run really well. And he's a guy I think you can get fairly cheap. His salary last year was like $1,200,000. So he's a guy I'd like to see back. Tyshawn Gibson, safety.
Yes.
I think he fits well with Eddie. I think now that Sean Desai is the defensive coordinator, I think you're going to see Eddie be that ball hawk, deep center field safety that we've been waiting since Vic left to see. And I think Sean Desai is going to do that. And Tyshawn Gibson, I thought, at times played really well against the run when he had to come into the box and make a play.
Yep. Gibson was on Hogan Johns. He loves Sean Desai.
Yeah.
So he wants to come back too. That's a mutual feeling between the Bears and the player.
Another guy is Jermaine Ifedi. Aside from that first game where he was bumped out to right tackle and allowed Mitch to get sacked and fumble against Detroit, I thought Ifedi showed a lot of promise and the flexibility to move inside and out. I don't know that he should be the starter at right tackle, just because I think that piece can be addressed possibly in the draft or by somebody else that is a free agent as well, and that is Alex Bars. So he's the guy who I want to see brought back as well. I feel like, that Notre Dame connection has really worked well on this line with Sam Mustipher at center, and Bars I think you can put anywhere. He stepped in at center, he stepped in at guard, and
tackle.
He played a little bit of tackle as well too. Last season. So that's a guy I would want to bring back. And then I look at looking at special teams. To me, Cairo Santos is a must re-sign. I mean, the guy was lights out this season. I absolutely think he's somebody. Yes, Eddie Pinheiro, I believe, still on the roster as well. But Cairo was lights out. If you don't bring him back, you're doing yourself
Mike's
a
brother, man.
disservice. Yeah, Mike's brother. And then Sherrick McManus. I mean, Sherrick McManus is another one of those guys who, yes, he's known as a special teamer, but at times steps on the field and makes some plays on the defensive side of the ball as well. And, I've always loved what Sherrick brought. And I think he's another guy that should be brought back. Actually, Eddie Pinheiro's a free agent as well. So, there are some other guys that I like too. I loved what Mario Edwards did.
You taking up all the people now, man.
Yeah, my bad.
You taking up all the names.
Well,
man.
move on. That's covered everybody.
I just got my list here. I got Mario Edwards that did well. I know everybody loves Roy Robertson Harris.
I don't.
He was injured
think
this
he's
year.
replaceable. I like
I do
Rob
too.
as a person, but I think he's replaceable in the draft.
I think he's
that's
been
on the team
replaceable
already.
for years. I don't think Roy Robb brings that much to the table. Mario Edwards came in here after a couple of fucking charges that were still hanging over his head, and played better than Rob anyway.
After being cut by New Orleans, he came in here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think for me, this offseason is a Chuck Pagano defense. It's a bend don't break. We're gonna have to give up on some people, right? I wouldn't mind seeing Urban come back, Edwards come back. Yep. I'd keep some of those. I would say cheaper defensive standouts that we've had, and try to get them back in there. But all in all, man, the offensive line, you have to bring back Bars. The offensive line has been the most neglected position on this team. And we were literally working with 4 backups that were all undrafted free agents. If that's not like neglect, you know what I mean? Besides Fetty, who we picked up, everybody else was undrafted free agent. And you had more room on your, like we talked about in the past, you had more room on your practice squad than you had in previous seasons because of COVID. You had all these additional places to put people, and you failed to build up that offensive line. I think Bars definitely, he's a gem that you found. And to let him walk out of the door is just straight stupidity. But right. you have to go in and, either definitely through the draft, but you have to bring back some of these guys and solidify that because, granted, look at it. Bobby Massey's probably a post June 1 cut because that gets you the most of your money, right? Mm-hmm. Charles Leno is I would say most likely on that also. Like, who knows? If they keep him, it's going to be pre to that, right? If they cut him post June 1, he's a big chunk of change. You can get almost $20 million out of cutting those 2 post June 1. You're only allowed to cut two players a year from an organization after June 1st. So I think not that it's you can actually have you can like pack your people up or have your positions filled prior to doing that because you got the draft, you got free agency, you got all this other stuff that's going to take place prior to that. And then decide, what the outcome of Massey or Leno would be. I just think that that is easily the most neglected spot. And I would say quarterback's probably number 2, but that's the most neglected spot, and you got to get after it. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So this is it's been neglected for decades in this town. Mm-hmm. I think it's unlikely though that you get rid of both of your tackles. It'd be hard, man. Like I like that $20 million savings, and that enables you maybe to go get a Trent Williams, or one of these top tier tackles.
Orlando Brown Jr. from the Ravens wants to be traded, doesn't he?
But again, how likely is that? I don't think it's that likely. I think Massey is.
I think they want a big haul for him.
Yeah, so I think Massey's going to get cut, and my 2 big keeps on offense, the 2 guys I'd be most concerned about, which Badge covered the rest of the roster.
Of course it is.
Love you, Badge.
It's the rest of the roster.
It's Affetti in Bars. I think Affetti doesn't get enough credit for the season he had. That one play against Detroit is the stain that every fan points to when Trubisky got strip sacked. But Affetti, I think, was number 1 or 2 in snaps. He was either at right guard or right tackle the whole season. So I'd pay to keep him. Bars for depth. And if I'm looking at free agency on the offensive line, I might actually consider a center because we still don't really have a proven true center. Mustapher was awesome for what his role was. A backup, a depth guy that came in. But is he truly like a Pro Bowl caliber, cornerstone type of an interior offensive lineman? I don't know. Whitehair was terrible at center. Daniels hasn't proven himself at center. So if you could go out there, there's a guy from Baltimore, Matt Skura, had an incredible year in 2019, incredible year in 2018, struggled with a pistol snap last year. Was the reason they lost to the Patriots and got death threats over it. And he's a free agent right now. Low-cost guy that just needs a change of scenery. I would almost prefer to say, okay, well, let's spend a couple bucks on that. You got a Fetty. If you can get him to a reasonable deal, he's going to be a great you draft for the future. You don't neglect that in the draft. You draft your future starter, your long-term starter in the draft. But to me, those are the two guys on offense that I'd put the highest priority on. And that's kind of how I would architect that line, at least for the next season or so. To me, on offense, if we're sticking with offense, the biggest question mark is Patterson. Is he?
Yeah.
The guy's awesome. I love this guy. He's a
He's a
recruiter.
great special teamer and
He's
a recruiter.
He's awesome. But at this stage of his career, does his next contract, do we regret it at the end of his contract? That he will be the highest paid returner. What other value is he going to provide? At the beginning of last season, Patterson was our team.
Chapter fucked up.
Defense was underperforming, and we needed him. If we can rebuild the offense, and if we can retool the defense and decide the guy, then your need for a guy like Patterson to be the highest paid at his position starts to go down. It's a lot of money there that he's eating up. And can you get a serviceable second option there? So he's the one guy for me that was like the toughest. Like, oh man, what do you do? I want to keep him, but again, priorities on offense for me is the line for sure.
Yeah,
Bars
just like you guys have talked about bars. I think Allen Robinson should be the number one priority because if you look at the free agency list, I don't think anyone is as good as him. And maybe you look in the draft, but those guys are all unproven. And if I was to draft a wide receiver, I think you have to have one of the top three to try and replace that. And you're not going to get that. You need quarterback or offensive tackle in the first round. So to me, that pushes the need for Allen Robinson even higher.
No question. The assumption
there
is that we're going to tag him, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. So I agree with you, though.
And then offensive line, Alex Bars, to me, he gives you depth. And not only does he give you depth, he has versatility that every NFL team looks for. When you look at the swing tackles that people keep on their roster for depth, they can all play guard, tackle. We saw Bars play center for a game. So he gives you depth at not only the guard position, but he can swing around and play wherever you want. So he takes up multiple roster spots. You don't have to have as many offensive line depth guys in the idea of everything. Fetty, to me, if you can get him for a good price, I would have him back. But I feel like I talked about earlier, Alex Leatherwood, I feel like he can be in that position. Or I've seen a lot about Christian Darrisaw out of I think it's Virginia Tech that he played for. He's a really good offensive tackle too that might be there in the draft. I'm sorry that I keep jumping to the draft. I apologize. This is a free agency show, and I need to stay focused. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
Hey, babe. Remember, this is AC and the boys show. So it's your world, baby. We just squirrels looking for a nut. That's all it is.
And you talked about center for a second there, Mike. I love Sam Mustipher. I think he should be our starting center. He should be given the first crack. But there is a guy that I'm biased as a Kentucky fan. Drake Jackson. He might be a guy that you can grab in the 5th or even 6th round. That he played 3-4 years here at Kentucky. He was probably the best center we've ever had. He's got leadership and he's a fucking mauler. So if you're looking for depth in the draft at center, Drake Jackson's your guy.
Yeah, I think obviously we need to focus offensive line. I know I said it earlier. I know Mike went into it too. Offensive line is definitely where we need to shore up and fix. Now there's a lot of movement that's going to happen with this team. We're already $2 million over the cap right now. We talked about A-Rob, and I seen somebody put in the chat about you don't franchise tag him, you transition tag him. I'm pretty sure the exclusive franchise tag is the one that offers back 2 first-rounders, right? Like if they match,
something like that.
Exclusive.
I don't know
I think
the
it's
rules,
exclusive. I think it's the exclusive rights tag. So I would go with that, man, and make somebody try to offer up 2 first-rounders for him. On the flip side of things, man, I mean, is this team just completely need a rebuild, everything, or are we on the offensive side? I'm saying, or
I
are
think
we?
I think we need a rebuild, but this coaching staff and this GM knows that their jobs are on the line. So
Yeah.
they're not going to be willing to try and do a rebuild right now because they know they're basically on a 1-year lease. We need a rebuild, but I don't know if we'll get that.
I mean, I think free agency, right? I mean, franchise tags can start, I think, 2 days from now. I'm pretty sure it's Tuesday that you can start with the tagging. And we know from talking and just from basic knowledge, right? But from talking to A-Rob's agent, he doesn't want to be franchise tagged. I don't think any player ever in the NFL wants to be franchise tagged, but he doesn't want to be franchise tagged. But I think if you play it the right way and you don't just outright tag him, you will let him explore his options and see what his market value is, what teams are putting on him. I honestly think that kind of favors you, because I really don't think that there's going to be a lot of money offered out there. I don't know. I mean, I think he's a great player. I want him to stay. I just don't think that there's a huge bidding war for A-Rob out throughout the rest of the NFL. What do you guys think, man? And chat and people in the chat room, what do you guys think? Is there going to be is A-Rob, no, I wouldn't say top tier because I think he's top tier, but would there be a bidding war erupted if A-Rob was to just go out there?
I think he's a different type of wide receiver than what a lot of people look for in a one. You know what I mean? He's not your top end speed threat that's gonna break a defense. He's a possession type receiver, but he's a possession type receiver that isn't afraid to go out and make contested catches. Did a few get taken away from him this season? Absolutely. But I mean, it's going to happen. It happens to the greatest wide receivers in the history of the game. It's happened. And I think that's what a lot of people get hung up on. They look at Allen and then they look at a Tyreek Hill, somebody like that who he can beat you in so many ways. Yeah. And A-Rob's not that guy. He's a number one receiver because he's a possession receiver. He runs crisp routes. Has he had a couple big plays? Yes, he has. But to me, if it's 3rd and 12 and I need somebody to make a tough contested catch, I don't give a fuck who's covering. I'm throwing the ball at him because I know he's going to get it and pick up a first down for him. So, I think he's a guy that has to come back. And the reason I say that is I feel like if he's on the field, it's going to force defenses to account for him and give Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet opportunities that without him on the field and without him as the true number one, that this team could have. Now, are there free agent wide receivers out there that could help take some of that burden off? I think there may be guys close, but I don't know if there's somebody out there of his caliber that is going to make the difference that he made. I mean, picture this team minus Allen Robinson.
Right.
Over the last 3 years. We're fucked.
Yeah.
We're not moving the football.
Yeah, the guys that are out there that would be at his caliber are going to cost the same or more. So if you're going to pay, you might as well pay for a guy that you know well, a guy that wants to be here, I think. So if you're going to free agency to replace Robinson, you have to take a step back in talent.
Yeah, I don't think you can afford to. Like, I'm on board with keeping him, right? I just know that, like, it seems like there's mixed emotions about A-Rob. Like, you either got the people that are on the side of the fence of, yes, he's a top tier receiver, or the ones on the other side who are like, no, he's a good receiver, but he's not top tier. And you got two sides of the conversation all the time. I mean, you see people posting videos saying, like, this guy isn't a burner. He's not this. He's not that. Yeah, he's reliable. But does that mean that he's worth that amount of money? Just because he's the best that we've seen in Chicago, does that make him top tier? And
I see a guy that he can catch anything that's thrown at him on third down. So whether it is 3rd and 12, like Badge said, 3rd and 5, whatever it is, 3rd and whatever, this guy's he's gonna run a slant across the middle. He's gonna take a beating and he's gonna catch the ball. He's as close to a sure thing as you can get on 3rd down. And
the only question marks I had with Allen Robinson was we saw it a couple of times this season where it would be 3rd and 8 or so, and he would catch the ball and then he would hop out of bounds a yard short, which you can't have that, or even 4th down plays where he did the same. Thank you for putting me on my own screen. I appreciate it. But and then he got like Badge talked about, he got beat in the end zone for a couple of plays. But I mean, where else are you gonna get a wide receiver like this? If you look in free agency, the only 2 guys that I can think of that can be even decently comparable to Allen Robinson would be Chris Godwin, who's going to get paid stupid money this year. I'm talking stupid money, or Kenny Golladay, who was hurt most of the last season. So is he really reliable? I mean, he's a good player who makes plays for his offense, but he had a damn good quarterback throwing to him in Matthew Stafford. And as I said, I think he missed like half of last season. So,
right.
I mean, it's a crapshoot.
In the case of one Allen Robinson, I refer back to one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, The Dark Knight. A man said that you are the hero, but then you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I feel like that's what we get when we see A-Rob. A-Rob was highly recruited to come here. Every fan loved when he came here. Yeah. Every fan was on board, but the longer we've had him, just like everybody else that comes to Chicago for whatever fucking reason it is, the longer we have him, the more it seems that, this person is expendable now. And it always comes back down to what? The money issue. Yes, the man wants to be paid. You look at it, Allen Robinson is probably a top 10 wide receiver. You're going to have to pay that premium regardless. Maybe you can swing something where you could possibly get a Kenny Golladay and maybe a Will Fuller, and maybe right around or a little bit more than that price of what you could for A-Rob. But at the end of the day, A-Rob is what we know, and A-Rob is what we have. We could chalk it up to, hey, we lost the bidding war, and you get what? Maybe a 3rd-round pick for him in compensatory. But if you're going to have to replace him, then that shit goes out the window. So
I mean, the part to this too is, guys, now. So let's say A-Rob goes. Well, now you're looking at Darnell Mooney as possibly your number 1 receiver, right?
Wide receiver, yeah.
Which, fine. But then now you've got to find somebody else to come in and learn this shitty fucking offense, even though really you only got to know how to run a hitch and you're fucking good to go to play in this offense. But at the same time, you've got a guy that's been here. And you know what? I mean, wouldn't it be fitting? A-Rob going to Green Bay and win a Super Bowl. You got Adrian Amos there already. I mean, it would just,
Yeah. I think he gets exclusive rights tag, man. I think he gets tagged, right? And I think we keep him anyway. But I think what KB said is perfect. Like, that's what Chicago does. Like, honestly, granted, I love all Chicago teams, but that's what, like, people get on board with all this bullshit of like hating the player worse than, whatever. And players get shit on. And is it a place that people are held? I wouldn't even say held accountable. They're just like, they could do one thing, man, and just be made out to be the worst fucking player there is, right? And nobody takes the good with the bad. They just take the bad and like that's it. They fucking hate this dude now, and he can leave and go and this and that. Good.
Look what they doing to Khalil Mack. Yeah. Everybody was geeked this shit when we got Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack was still top 3 in the fucking league in fucking pressures this year.
I'm still geeked,
because he didn't. But because he didn't have the sack numbers, because it was legit damn near just him getting after the passer. Oh, Khalil Mack is past his prime. He's trash. He doesn't want to do this when the man's playing hurt. Yeah, he's out there giving what he can give. It's not his fault that he has to go against double and triple teams damn near entire games for 16 games in the fucking season. That's not his fault, bro.
Yeah, and on the flip side of it, now all these people are out to get J.J. Watt and bring him in as a damn free agent because I don't know why. Just because
I
he's
mean,
got
if you
ties
can
to
get him,
Chicago and he likes Portillo's.
I was
I
gonna
mean,
say if he
that-
can come in on a cheap deal, and you can put him on the line with fucking Goldman, Hicks, and fucking and Bilal. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it if he came cheap.
Yeah.
That's all
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
to wrap up the A-Rob thing, man, I want to see a quarterback brought in here to throw to A-Rob. I want to see A-Rob's,
dude.
like, I mean, it's not talk, it's truth, right? But all this about A-Rob's never had a quarterback, A-Rob's never had a top-tier quarterback. There's a lot of receivers in the league that have never had a top-tier quarterback. I mean, granted, there's only a handful of those dudes in the league. But I think some of these receivers make top-tier quarterbacks, right? And I think,
DeAndre
A-Rob,
Hopkins.
yeah, A-Rob with a top-tier quarterback would be ridiculous. And if your job's on the line, this is your last year, you have to make moves. You have to do something in order to make yourself relevant or in order to keep your job. Then you throw it all in, man, and you go get this quarterback. You throw the exclusive rights on A-Rob and you build, and you have to show promise. And honestly, why the hell would Nagy or Pace care about future shit? They have no reason to care about anything in the future. It's this year. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So them trading away first-round picks, they're probably not going to give a shit. Like, they're going to try to sell to the organization why it's the best plan and why it needs to happen. And the reason isn't going to be because my job's on the line. The reason is going to be something else to prove that we can do it. And honestly, it's a total backfire situation. We could see these guys just crap out this franchise for the next 3 years, 4 years, and long into the future by moves that are made in the next month or so.
You know what scares me? You know what scares me a little bit, Bobby, to that point? You mentioned jobs on the line. Jobs on the line was mentioned a couple times today. There's no proof from the Chicago Bears that anybody's job probably.
They don't even tell their contract situation, for God's sake.
I don't believe. So logic says their job should be on the line. Fans are saying their jobs are on the line, but my fear is that they're not. Like, everything we heard in the postseason press conference was that they like the collaboration. They like what these guys are doing. And everything from the media that I think the guys that actually have sources, not the sources, but the sources.
Yeah, not the sorcerers.
Right. But they're telling us that the McCaskies love Ryan Pace. Yeah, I fear that what you just said won't happen because their jobs really aren't on the line, and we are going to have mediocrity for 4 or 5 seasons. We're going to go back into this lull. So I don't know, man.
I don't know, man. They let go of Lovey on a 10-6 season because he couldn't build an offense. They brought in, for some stupid reason, they like Mark Trestman over Bruce fucking Arians, who has now just won the Super Bowl and took the Arizona Cardinals to the damn Super Bowl before that. So they brought in Mark Trestman. 3 years of mediocrity, they got rid of his ass, right? John Fox comes in. 2-3 years of mediocrity, they got rid of his ass. I think, and this comes down to George being a fan at heart, I don't think he's happy with mediocrity. Now, we thought this year should have been the year. They should clean house, get rid of everybody. But I think due to COVID and money, and I know people don't want to admit this, but due to COVID and money and all the amount of money that they lost last year, these guys are on a 1-year deal. If you don't get it done this year, if we finish 8-8 or lower, or maybe even if we miss the playoffs, your ass
it should be missed playoffs.
Your ass is gone.
I want to believe that you are right. I want to believe that you're right, AC, and my gut says you're wrong. That these guys have more time.
I think,
what these contracts look like.
Yeah, that's what I was just I think Mike's got a valid point, man. We don't know. What if Nagy's got 4 more years left? What if Pace is like locked in?
Surely they wouldn't re-sign them with the product on the field.
You know what y'all sound like, man? Y'all sound like scorned fucking NFL fans. That's what y'all sound like.
That's what we are. That's right, George. Bear down. We're all down.
Yeah, I mean, granted, he's won more games than he's lost, right? But I think that's another part of the, like we were saying, like the hero and the villain Nagy's won more games than he's lost, but he's had a lot of issues or times to where we've can straight point at him and grade him negatively, right? And say that this was stupid, that was stupid, and
Touche, Doug Dyer.
and it's kind of lost in the scale of should he keep his job or not? Does one decision make him do it or not? I mean, the dude, granted there was an extra playoff team this year, but he's made the playoffs twice. He's done things that Trestman and Fox and Lovey didn't do. I mean, Lovey, granted they were 10-6, they missed the playoff that one year because I think Minnesota won that last game and kind of nudged us out of it. So he's made it to the postseason. There's always been, all you hear is the good coming out of Chicago in the personal side of things. You don't ever hear the bad part coming out. I think Kyle Long was probably the first one that kind of, after he left the team, talked a little shit about what was going on there. So I think there's a lot of things that are covered up and a lot of things that we're not seeing. And on the AC side of things with the whole COVID and money and this and that, who's to say next season isn't like this? I mean, granted,
Right.
we've seen a couple teams open up to 20,000 or 15 or whatever they're opening up to, right? But who's to say that's not the new norm for next year? Like, where do we sit next year with? We can't guarantee that everything is going to open, the floodgates are open again, and all these people start piling in. So, I don't know, man. It's tough, but I think that's. And I seen Doug's comment about like their futures and this and that. I don't know. I mean, if it is, why not risk it, right? I don't know, man. I think it's just a whole lot of mess and undetermined stuff, and I think the sorcerers, like Mike had, mentioned, these people with their fake intel. I think the sorcerers like really change the narrative and change what fans tend to believe, and then the actuality comes out to where the Bears never even made an offer on Wentz, or they never did this or that. But if you looked at Twitter, you looked at social media, man, we were there boxing people trying to get Wentz.
Right. I
We were
think
throwing
a lot of
Roquan
these
Smith in trades
sources
for Wentz.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these sources it seems like the Eagles front office kind of floated it out there to try and push the price up.
Yeah.
So people took that and freaking ran with it, and then it comes out that they never even made a trade offer, which is great to me. I mean, if that's what it's going to cost, the first
My trade
rounder.
offers would have been for Jalen Hurts. Hell, I trade for him. At least he had some kind of. Look, for me, man. For this city, what you're gonna need is somebody who comes in with some type of swag, man. He's gonna have to come in. He's gonna have to carry his own nuts, man. And that's what the honest to God truth is gonna have to be. Because one wrong move in this town, like I said, you're the villain.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna carry him.
The sword. No, yeah, of course. You got the beard. You're not carrying shit, but your beard. You got it. But no, man. But that's just how it's going to be, man. Especially looking at this town. You gonna have to come in. You gonna have to be your own cheerleader, your own. You got to be your own hero, man, just to keep that tone up. You got to be your own hero. You got to be your own backup.
That's another worry with Deshaun Watson, man. If we trade the farm for this guy, I mean, they're talking 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and a couple of players. And Deshaun comes in here, and we go.
He farts on the CPA, and somebody smells it. They'd be talking about getting him out of town. Let's be
right.
Real.
See, they won 4 games last year. If he comes out here and even if he puts up stupid numbers and we win 4 or 5 games, they're going to be ready to, on to the next
he's trash.
one.
He's got to go.
Right. That's us Bears fans are wild like that, man. I don't get it sometimes. I guess every fan base has those fans. I mean, even spoiled Packers fans. After that guy dropped the onside kick, they were ready to give him death threats and stuff.
Oh yeah, they gave him death threats.
Yeah,
you're right. There are crazed ones out there. I just think it's more prevalent. It's more like popular for Chicago to just shit on their players, man. And like, I don't know. Maybe it's because that's what we see and who we follow.
Well, the media does it too. I mean, look how long Cutler was shat on, even though he's the best quarterback we've ever had. I'm sorry, Sid Luckman fans.
Well,
I think he's the best quarterback we ever had.
I would take Cutler, Skill, and Trubisky.
What do you guys think about
If
this?
Trubisky had it, we'd be cool.
What do you guys think about this? And I seen Alyssa Barbieri had put this out earlier, another host on Barroom Network. But Pro Football Focus predicts that the Bears signed Trubisky for 2 years, $15 million. Is this talk about Trubisky doesn't even want to come back here? Is this just another Carson Wentz trade rumor that isn't there?
I think it's all bullshit, Mitch. I mean, if you're Mitch, why do you want to come back here? You were given the reins to be the starting quarterback. You were promised that the coaching staff was going to come in and develop you into a good quarterback, and you were going to lead this franchise into the future as the franchise quarterback. You consistently dealt with criticism of your game from the media, from fans, from people like us. Just nonstop, and it got to the point, with name calling and trashing and this, that, and the other thing. And then even in your own organization,
about everything he does, man. I mean, he talked about reading a leadership book to try to get better at leadership, and every single Chicago Bears fan took that and ripped him apart for it. He talked about jokingly, sarcastically, talked about turning televisions off. And how long did we fucking hear about it? This guy's trash. He's not a leader. He can't do shit. He's talking about turning TVs off. He can't take criticism. Fuck you, dude. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
If I'm Mitch, I'm going to New Orleans. I'm calling New England. I'm calling Pittsburgh. I'm calling fucking Seattle's already talking about getting rid of Russell Wilson.
I wish.
I'm fucking out. There's zero chance I'm coming back to Chicago if I'm Mitch.
Yeah, both sides need a fresh start, and they both know it. And the only reason, so if Badge, you asked a question, why would Mitch want to come back? The only reason he'd want to come back is if there was no interest across the league in his services, and that ain't happening. The NFL is a we can fix it type of a league. Like, there's so many coaches that think, oh, I'll take that project, I can fix them. Right? There's plenty of guys out there that would take Trubisky as a backup, kind of a Tannehill situation, like what they did 2 years ago and brought him in to compete with Mariota. There's plenty of teams out there that could use a quarterback that would put Mitchell Trubisky in a new fresh start. There's no shot that happens. No shot he comes back.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think the only way he comes back is if that $15 million for 2 years is his highest offer. I think it comes down to money, and they're like, Mitch, are you willing to do 2 more years in Chicago? Because they'll give you $15 million, and New Orleans or any of these other, they're only doing 2 years for $10 million. Are you willing to go back to Chicago for an extra $5 million? I think that's the only way he comes back, is if he's in it for the money. And
Mitch doesn't seem to be in it for the money. He seems perfectly happy on his rookie contract deal. You don't see him going out buying Lamborghinis or freaking pulling into the parking lot with a slingshot like
yeah, but
Owen
I mean,
did.
honestly, until 5 weeks ago, Mitch was a fucking pull string puppet that you fucking ask him a question, Nagy pulls his string and he spits out whatever the fuck he was told to say.
That changed after he got benched. When he was benched, he said, nobody, I don't even speak to the coaching staff. Nobody speaks to me. They were focused on getting Nick ready to play. And it wasn't until they had to turn back to Mitch to save the season, if that's what you want to fucking call it. I call it save the shit show. But they had to go back to him, and they got to calling plays that worked well for him. And guys, to be honest, I mean, I know it was talked about, where do you see the team this season and rebuild and this and that. It's unfortunately not a rebuild, because they still believe that they're a quarterback away from being a competitive team in this league. Well, I'm here to tell you they're an entire offense away from competing in this league. So I don't give a fuck who they bring in at quarterback. I don't care if they re-sign A-Rob, if they bring in Kenny fucking Galladay or any of these other guys. If Matt Nagy is calling plays in this offense, it won't fucking matter. We'll be 4-12.
I'm on the other side, man. I'll disagree. I definitely disagree. I'm going off the basis of I get it. Everybody hates Nagy. Like, cool. I think we're a couple linemen and a quarterback away. I think if you take a step back and look at this team, right? You got a 1,000-yard receiver and a 1,000-yard running back. There's only 4 other teams in the league that did that this year. 4 other teams: 1,000-yard receiver, 1,000-yard running back. You got them, some bright fucking spots in David Montgomery and Darnell Mooney. You got a line that got mixed up, put together, injury, drop, this, that, whatever. They fucking solidified that line with undrafted free agents and dudes who came out and played well above average football. And even some of the guys that got shit on played well above average football towards the end. Granted, was that Bill Lazor? I don't know. I don't know, right? I'm not sure who did what or who made this happen, but maybe Nagy did take a step back. But I think that this team, I mean, for the first time since 1965 was the first NFL team to put up 4 30-plus games in a row or whatever the hell it was, right? I think that there's a lot here. I think that us as Bears fans like I said earlier, tend to look at the negative more than we look at the positive. We tend to shit on how we're so screwed instead of trying to look at it optimistically and say, look at these. Here's a couple things. Jimmy Graham came in here and fucking did great. And that was a dude that
I didn't think he would.
He got shit on all up and down Chicago. Like, who the fuck wants this old man? He can't do nothing. He can't this and that. He did nothing with the Packers, and he came to the Bears, and he did fucking great. I just think that
Cole Kmet's got a bright future if he can hold on to the ball.
Yeah, and I think there is a lot of potential. I think there is a lot of, did we fall off the track and go on a huge fucking losing streak? Yeah. If you would have won 2 of those games in there, 3 of those games out of that losing streak, man, I don't know. I just think that
a 10 or 11 win season, it's a completely different offseason.
Yeah, and nobody's talking about Nagy getting fired. Like, I think I think the train's on the track, dude. I think we have a lot of pieces. I think it's going.
Well, we've talked about this scheme even when we were winning games. We talked about how, those the first part of the season when we went 5-1, we were still talking about, we're winning games, but we're squeaking by and we're not there. And some people
always done that though.
And
some people blame Nagy, some people blame Mitch, some people blamed.
Yeah,
but you said, it comes down to the scheme, bro. It's like I said in one of our shows from before. If there was a way that you brought back Trubisky, I'm not saying Trubisky wants to sign here. I'm not saying it's the best idea to sign Trubisky. At this point, I can give 2 fucks less about what that plan is actually going to be. But if Lazor was the one calling plays, if you let Lazor implement the fucking system and then let all of these players through this offseason learn that system, the Alex Bars question might be out of the question. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he could start at right tackle. Who knows? The whole offseason, we had a defensive tackle starting over him and being the first person to come in a pinch situation.
Yeah.
Sam Mustipher wasn't even getting looks at the center position. They put Bars in first. We've seen how things went as the time went on through the season. Now that you got the pieces in place, Sam Mustipher can play center. Okay, so give the man a shot. Maybe you bring somebody else in. You see who wins that damn battle. You let Bars compete for the fucking right guard or maybe the right tackle position. You still draft somebody, but you let the boy compete. Then you're fixing the line because you got White here at left guard. You got James Daniels who can slide in at right guard or left guard. You can intermix those two for all I care. Let somebody, Bill Lazor, let him hammer down his scheme. Let him be the one to call plays. I seen Doug say something about Trubisky and Kyle Long saying he was good. Dude, Trubisky was great at calling and the offense that John Fox had him doing because it was all runs and play action. You seen it. He was putting up the points. I can give a damn if it was against bad defenses or not because against bad defenses, we were only scoring 14 points. So let somebody develop in a fucking an offense for a fucking season. I mean, an off season. Let them get comfortable with what they're doing so we can have an identity so we can actually say, oh, well, this is what our offense is.
But
Then you
that's
draft
the
players
point
for
I
that,
was
for
getting
that.
at, guys.
And that's what I was going to get to, Badge, because I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But to me, it all comes back to that scheme. We have the players to run a specific scheme, but they do not want to put those players in those positions. And that's that's incumbent on your coaching staff.
Yeah.
It took to week 13 for this coaching staff offensively to figure out what their identity was. Right? And look at the inconsistency up until that point. And then after those 4 games where they scored 30 plus points, look at the inconsistency again. We're just bringing back inconsistency. This offense is completely inconsistent. There's no rhythm. There's no rhyme. For 4 games, there was rhyme and rhythm. So now what are they going to do? Are they going to break down Nagy's 9 million page fucking playbook that he's got strewn about his home office and say, okay, well, hey, we got these plays to work for Mitch, so let's get this next guy in here and see what he likes to do. I mean, at some point that it's got to give. I don't trust Matt Nagy,
and that's what it comes down
putting
to.
an offensive game plan together no matter who the quarterback is. I mean, you look at the 3 seasons that he's been here, it's nothing but inconsistency. And he's not only the offensive guy, but he's the head coach, so he should get double the blame for that. They have to fix what they're trying to do schematically, offensively, or none of this means shit. If they come out here, even with a new quarterback, trying to do the same shit that they did weeks 1 through 13 last season, it's going to be the same fucking results. And we're all going to be sitting here going, oh, shit, man. Wow, we got Deshaun Watson and we re-signed A-Rob, but yet, we're still fucking 9-7 and sneaking into the playoffs. And
so everybody's looked at the schedule for next season. We've got like the 3rd hardest schedule in the league. How many weeks do you guys think it takes with Nagy calling plays and us struggling? How many weeks, if Nagy were to get fired mid-season, how many weeks do you think it would be?
A lot.
Yeah, you think they'll just ride out the season like they did with John Fox?
It's going to take a long time. I mean, this organization doesn't do that. They don't fire people mid-season. And again, like everything that they're telling us gives you no indication to believe that anybody's on a hot seat. So you're waiting.
Strength of schedule is always a thing that's never really.
That's true, yeah.
In the new,
be different one season.
Yeah, in the new NFL, it really doesn't hold weight into the next season. I mean, especially now. I mean, look at Stafford's moving, right? We played the Bucs, we played the Saints. Breeze is done. Like, there's a lot of changes that happen every year. So, strength of schedule, I think, is just like a way to average up like where they're going to be. But I don't really see it being something that's totally oh shit, we got to play these guys and those guys, right? And I get it, man. I just think that I agree, it is inconsistent, Badge. I think it's consistently inconsistent. But to say that this offense is done, right? I think the offense is fucking good, man. I think you're just putting 2 cycle into a Corvette right now, and you need to damn. And there's fucking blue smoke blowing out your tailpipe. You need to go with some fucking high-end petro, and get this thing going.
Y'all got some snaps on the petro?
You got some snaps on the petro. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think that's where it's at. I know we're down, free agency, and we're kind of all over the place. I think next week we'll go with cap cuts or cap casualties. Maybe should be a better way to say it, but free agency wise, man, I think a lot of this is going to come with moves, right? Who do we lose? Who do we cut? Then who do we need to go get? Is Fuller trade bait? Do we get rid of Kyle Fuller? Now that we're getting to the back end of his contract, where we're going to have to pay him more. If we do move up for a quarterback, is Fuller part of that deal along with the 20? There's like some of these things are going to have to happen. And I know talked about
if you're talking just about Kyle Fuller himself, Bobby, I mean, if Kyle Fuller, if you cut him, it's $11 million cap savings, according to overthecap.com. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not going to cut a guy of that caliber. I mean,
Yeah.
personally speaking, I wouldn't. But definitely to get the money off the books. Now, if you cut him, though, it's
You got a
$9
spot
million
to
in dead
replace.
cap. So
Right.
then you also have to replace him.
Yeah. I don't
He's
think you
definitely a
cut him.
tradable asset.
Yeah, I
though.
think he's tradable, but I don't think you cut
Yeah.
him. And the other guy, which I don't want to see happen, is Hicks. I think Hicks is possibly on the block.
10.5
I feel
million.
like Hicks. I feel like Hicks is a guy who he seems like a Chicago Bear at heart. Honestly, I
Yeah, me
think
too.
he will take less on the year and convert it into signing bonus to help the team make up a little bit of cap room. That's just my honest opinion.
Mhm.
And I feel like he wants to be here. They want him here. He's the heart and soul of this defense.
Yeah.
I don't see Hicks going anywhere. He's going to retire a Bear, in my opinion.
Well, the only way they do that is by extending him and spreading some of that money out over the time, right? Because I mean, granted, like they could want to keep somebody. If that person isn't willing to to bend or willing to renegotiate or to take a team friendly thing. He's got a
See you,
bell.
KB.
Hey,
Go
best
save
of
the
luck,
world.
KB. Stay safe, buddy. Yeah, there it goes. KB's going to put out fires. But I think with Hicks, it's like he has to want to. And that's something that a lot of people get twisted, that they're like, well, this needs to happen, that needs to happen. It's not something that it's not a dictatorship. They can't turn around and say, hey, you're taking this and we're going to do that, right? And then people are like, I can't believe the Bears didn't do this. Well, maybe they tried.
Maybe they tried
and the player
that. Yeah.
and the player was like, hey, fuck off. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe he let him walk out the door. And then, it comes out that dude wanted fucking 30 million. And they're like, oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's a two-way street, man. A lot of this stuff needs to happen. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of guys that we're okay with letting go and letting do their thing. Although if we can get that bottom line on some of these free agents again, I just want to go through this real quick and see if there's anybody that we missed. Let's start with the offense, that bottom line offense free agent list of guys that we have. So these are guys that we could bring in, right? Offensive tackles, free agents. I don't know if we can even do any of this. Perfect world, sure. Right? Like straight fan talk. Yeah. Like go after him. But I don't know if we can afford any of those dudes because we're not in the position to do it. So we might end up having to bring in some of the guys that we shit on, that guys that we might have to extend them or run with a contract that they have now or push things later down the road. And, like KB had mentioned, or not KB, like AC had mentioned earlier before we started the show, can we transfer some of this into signing bonuses? And you can, but then that money goes over the length of the contract. So who knows from there, man? I know I'm kind of just babbling at this point, but I mean, which guys? It's going to be a tricky situation, man, all the way around. Looking at guys to bring in as free agents, I don't really see it happening. Maybe one splash move, if that.
I really like. He just brought up the offensive tackles down there. I really like Alejandro Villanueva from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, because he's an Army guy, and he's one of your boys.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to go there. You know what I'm saying? But he is kind of a badass. But like you said, money wise, man, unless we can cut some guys, trade some guys. You talked about Charles Leno being a cap casualty, possibly. I think he has trade value, honestly. A lot of teams looking for a left tackle. And one that sticks out to me is, as I mentioned earlier, with the Derek Carr trade, Las Vegas Raiders. I feel like that could be a fit. He's from Oakland. I mean, I guess they're not in Oakland anymore, but he probably grew up a Raiders fan. Maybe you can swing a trade for Charles Leno and maybe a draft pick and get Derek Carr in return, and then either bring in a free agent or draft somebody at left tackle. What do you guys think about that?
Leno's best thing is his availability, man. The dude is never injured. The dude is like countless snap after snap after snap. He's a solid piece, I think. Like, does he mess up? Sure. But does he also go against the best edge rushers in the league? Yeah. Like, this dude faces the pretty much the best player on every defense every game. And does that cause some false starts? Yeah, absolutely. Does it, like, does he miss? Sure, he does. Is he the worst piece? No, I don't think he is. I don't think you can sell me that he's the worst. I don't think, like, there's no way he's the worst in the league. There's no way that, like, you can't sell me on that piece. Monetarily, does it make sense? I don't know. I think it's something that he, that they're going to have to figure out. And I don't think Leno is the fucking worst one. I think that's just, blind ass Bears fans that's
the narrative that gets started in it, and there's no way to change it, no matter what happens.
I think it's blind ass fans who are like, oh, we can get a better one. Where? And for how? And for how much money? Like, I think it's lost if you think that he's the absolute worst. But go ahead, Mike. I see you're ready to get at it.
Well, the only thing, I think I mentioned this earlier, is like the only way I see us getting one of those offensive tackles that was on that list, especially the ones at the higher end there, is noticeably better than Leno, is if you like cut them both, right? You have how much savings? Is it 13? It's 20 million in salary.
I think Bobby said 20 million or something.
But it would be a 13 million savings, I think, in total because of dead cap. So if they're cut, I think it's 13. Badge, I don't know if you've got the numbers.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So if you cut Leno, it's 6.2 million in cap savings, but it's 5.1 of it is dead money. So in essence, you're really looking at just like $1,100,000. That's all you're going to save.
So you keep them. You got to keep them. You can't get rid of both your tackles. AC, you brought up Derek Carr a couple times today, and I know you're trying to get us to talk about Derek Carr with you. Get on the.
I just want to know your all's opinion, because my opinion is he's better than the chance he's been given out there. It seems like as soon as they brought in John Gruden, he was ready to get rid of his quarterback, which doesn't make sense to me, because to me he's an above average quarterback who's played pretty well with the Raiders.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think out of the list of guys that you can trade for that are realistic trade candidates, he's my favorite by far. I just don't see the Raiders trading him. And
yeah, I don't either.
Like, I don't think they've given any indication that he's on the market. I'm sure they're listening. They've listened to any offers, but would you trade 2 first-round picks for him?
No.
You're going to trade at least a first, at least one.
I think if we could get a Carson Wentz type deal for him, trade a third and a second that might turn into a first, I might be okay with that.
I'd be with you on that too. And
but I'm not trading 2 firsts or players or, well, I mean, I guess I said Leno, but
so I just said Chris Gonzalez have me look at the post June 1st cut list, right? So thanks, Chris. So post June 1st cut, you're looking at Leno, right? If you cut him post June 1st, it's a $9 million cap savings, and the dead money is only $2.3 million. If you look at Bobby Massey, it's an $8 million cap savings with only $1.3 million. So basically, before you that post June 1st cut, you're saving a little bit more money than you would pre June 1st.
So you could,
but at that point, then you're looking for 2 offensive tackles,
right? But then you're looking for 2 offensive tackles, and if you're trying to pay a free agent left tackle, you're going to pay him the $18 million that you just cut off your roster.
Are you looking for 2 or are you looking for 1? Because we already kind of said that Affetti could be your guy with bars backing him up, and you draft somebody So maybe you pay up and you get one really good tackle play on the left side, and then because we were cutting Massey either way, right? So you cut Massey, you're drafting, and I think we all agree that if the price is right, you pay Ifedi to stay. He was reliable for the season, worked his ass off, moved to a position that wasn't his normal position, and did well. So theoretically, you could sign one of those guys at the top of the list, a Trent Williams, somebody like that, and they're not going to cost north of $20 million. If you can get somebody in at 15, between 10 and 15, that is a nice solid upgrade over Leno, our best tackle, you might have something to work with there.
Yeah, I just think there's so much in play. Right at this point, we're
a month out from free agency.
We're less than a month essentially. Well, just shy of a month, right? March 17th.
March 17th is when it all kicks off. So a lot of things can happen between now and then. Trades. I mean, we've already seen.
There's a shit ton that can happen. I
mean,
you're already seeing
two quarterbacks on the move
that aren't even, can't even be completed till March 17th with the Stafford trade, the Wentz trade. Now you've got to wait until March 17th to finish those deals.
Yeah. It's gonna be an interesting offseason. I'm ready for it. When's the draft? I know it's April, usually late April, right?
Third week, usually, I think, right?
So we'll have to do some research and obviously stay here with the ballroom and check out Draft on Tap. Those guys are on top of their shit. With Danny Shimon and Neil Stopchinski, they've always got somebody to talk about, man, and they know their players a lot better than I like to say that I watch college ball. You know what I'm saying? Well, SEC college ball. So that's why a lot of my favorite players are from that conference. But I feel like those guys, they watch a lot more of it than I do, and they actually know what they're watching. I'm just a fanalist. You know what I'm saying, Bobby?
Yeah, I got you, man. That's the way to go. I mean, that's the way to go. I think in the grand scheme of things, to kind of wrap up the free agency thing, I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to get at, but to kind of wrap up the free agency thing, I think we're going to see this team, we're going to make some cuts, right? I think Leno is back. I know that you mentioned with Chris, and I know I had mentioned it earlier with the post-June 1 cuts. You can only make 2 per team. During the year. So is it 2 tackles for us? I don't think so.
Well, do you guys know the cap hit if we cut Danny Trevathan? I know we just signed him.
I think it's like
I know 1. I love Danny. He's a Kentucky guy, but
it's only like, I think it's 1.7 is what we save or something along those lines.
If we cut him post June 1st, it's $500,000. That money is $4.525 million. Now, if you cut him pre-June 1st, hang on, let me find him. If you cut him pre-June 1st, you're eating all sorts of money.
Yeah. So it's cheaper to keep him around and just draft somebody behind him, right?
Yep. I think what you're going to see, man, I think you're going to see a lot of veterans be brought in on 1-year prove-it deals. You're going to see a lot of plug and hopefully play. You're going to see a lot of I think he's got something left in the tank and type of talks,
I saw something earlier this week. I'm sorry to cut you off, Bobby.
Go ahead.
Trey Boston, a guy who I've liked for a bit. He got cut this week by the Carolina Panthers. Is that a guy you guys think we should go after? I think Barlissimo was a big fan of his.
Yeah,
we were talking tackle or safeties before we signed to Sean Gibson. I feel like Trey Boston's a damn good safety. He's been bounced around a lot. I don't know why, but I feel like he might be a guy we can look at. I don't know about money.
I mean, they had a chance to get him years ago, right? When he was leaving, I think Arizona.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they never went after him or what the deal was there, but I think honestly, I guess it all comes down to money still, though, right? Like, is that your big offseason move when there's so much shit that you need on the other side of the ball? Are you putting more money into the
More
defense?
on the defense.
Like, I don't know if that's logical, right?
No, Bobby, you're right. Like, it's got to be proven deals. Like, you got to find reclamation projects at pretty much every position on defense. Safety's
Yeah.
what we got to think about. I mean, Eddie Jackson's the only guy under contract.
Yeah.
DHC, Deion Bush, Gibson, all three of those guys are free agents.
You know what's really like a part that we haven't talked about this. I know we said that there's 30 dudes that are going to be free agents in some sense, right? Either unrestricted, restricted, whatever. There's 30 dudes on the team right now that are like that. I think where this takes a huge hit is special teams, man. You're special, like a lot of these guys are special teams players, and a lot of these guys are players that come in for those things, right? A lot of them are if you want to call it breather players or whatever, who come in to get a couple snaps when
Right.
Mac's getting a rest or this guy's
we
getting
saw
a rest.
DHC save the game a couple of times this season.
Yeah. So
He's
I mean,
the one out of those three that I would keep.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of the spot that, you know, some of these guys, you need guys like that to come in, and these guys on, you know, outside of your top name dudes and your big all-star players, these guys are the core of your team that keep things going, and to have that many people up like to re-sign right now, I think is just a slap in the face to Pace again. Like, I get it, you miss on your first rounders, you've done well in the middle rounds, right? But what have you done like in order to keep the core of this thing going? And to have so much money invested in the defense and then still have all these unrestricted free agents coming from the defensive side of the ball, it's going to be tough, man. I think we get like I said, I think we get a lot of prove it deals. We get a lot of 1 year guys, right? We get a lot of, you know, 1 year with the second year possible and this and that.
Right.
And I think you get a lot of incentives. You get a lot of, you know, contracts that come out with, you know, with the likely to be done, not likely to be done incentives of you can earn extra money if this happens, that happens.
Is there any
I don't know if there's any other
Packers
choice
that might come over because of the hire of Mike Pettin? Like, I don't know. I don't know what kind of depth they had. I don't know their roster as well as ours, so I don't know what kind of. I know Kirksey got cut. I thought I saw, but he's not. To me, he's not very good as an inside linebacker, and someone else I can't remember. But I remember seeing Kirksey got cut, and I was like, well, I kind of saw that coming because he was a liability in coverage, like Danny has been, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's another spot, inside linebacker. I mean, if you throw all your chips on the table, right, and try to go after Watson, and please don't, but for the love of God, fucking damn, Roquan ends up going to the Texans. Now we got Danny, and we lost the top tackler on our team.
Right.
Like the best, I think, the best player on defense, you just gave up to do that. And the rest of this money, and that doesn't count for a lot of money on the defense. Roquan doesn't count for a lot. And coming back, man, like, you still have all that money invested, and you have a huge hole in under coverage and middle of the field to fill. And it's just something else that, like, you know, now what do you do? Now you need that's a huge hole that you need to fill now. And it's not like you got a guy back there. I wouldn't call Woods and I think Woods is a free agent anyway, but I wouldn't call him the next coming of anything.
I mean, he wasn't irreplaceable.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a lot of things could happen. A lot of things that we've talked about could go one way or the other. And we're looking at filling a inside linebacker and a DB because we just lost Fuller and Roquan, and we haven't even solved the offensive line yet. There's a lot of things that could happen with this team, and who knows where it's going to go. But I mean, if anything crazy comes or any breaking news or some random thing happens, of course we're going to hop on and try to kick it, you know, right off the bat. But the whole unsure of the offseason. This is the first time we've been like this in a couple of years. I mean, we turned around and had a 100-year anniversary where we were going to the Super Bowl, and there was no fucking doubt about it. And
we were a
this and
kicker
that,
away.
right? And confidence was just skyrocketed. And yeah, and the only thing we needed was a kicker. And a lot of the pieces on this team are still here, but now we need fucking everything. You know what I mean?
All we had is a kicker.
Yeah, and now exactly.
He's a free agent though. We got to make sure he gets re-signed.
Yeah, so who knows, man? I think the first ball will drop in 2 days, right? When you can get tagged, and then we'll see what the game plan is moving forward.
I like your idea, Bobby, about the tagging A-Rob and try to get a couple of first-round picks, because either way, you've either got A-Rob or a couple of first-round picks, man. I don't see the loss. I don't see a losing in it.
Yeah, either way, you still have ammunition, and I don't know that a team gives up 2 first-round picks for A-Rob. I don't think that that's possible, but if you find a team out there to do it, that just gives you more ammo to kind of move up in this draft and not mortgage your future, but move up in this draft and try to steal one of these quarterbacks that are, probably going to be gone, like Aldo said earlier, in the top 7 picks, right? Yeah. So, or maybe it gives you ammo to move into somewhere else or trade with somebody else for a Watson if possible or not. Who fucking knows, man? But I think it's the smartest move, and A-Rob's going to be pissed. I get it, but I think it's the smartest move, and you either keep him or you get a hefty return for him.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's the best scenario. The best scenario plays out in that situation. I just think before you see the Bears do anything, they need to figure out the quarterback. I really think, and there's no other move that should be made until you figure out what you're going to do at quarterback.
Yeah, well, I think the quarterback move needs to be in the draft. So we'll see free agency play out, in my opinion, prior to the quarterback position being figured out, unless we see a trade before draft day of draft picks. You know what I'm saying? Like a couple of firsts and a second to move up into the top 10 to try to grab one of these quarterbacks. Because to me, anybody who's on free agency, I would rather go the younger option and roll the dice on a rookie quarterback. Now, whether Pace and Nagy want to do that could be a completely different story.
Yeah, I really wouldn't. I mean, it's pretty rare that a drafted quarterback that you hit it with a drafted quarterback.
Yeah,
and I feel like there's some options out there that are guys that have proven NFL experience, that have won games in the NFL, that are better than Nick Foles, that you've got to bring in first or as a part of the plan to draft and develop. Unless we're getting into the top 5, and I don't see that happening, where you have somewhat close to a sure thing. There's no such thing as a sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like I agree with you. Long term, that position is going to be solved through the draft, whether it's this year, next year, or the year after that. At some point, it's got to work. But before then, we need to bring somebody in that's not Nick Foles to be our quarterback, and then hopefully to develop whoever that drafted quarterback is.
Yeah, I think you have. I think you have to. Do both.
Absolutely.
You got to do both. You got to, if you're going to trade for one, you got to trade for one, and then you got to draft one. I mean, you've neglected this position since you drafted Mitchell Trubisky, and even when you drafted Mitchell Trubisky, your fucking answer was Mike Glennon.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's so many holes on this team though, and we talked about the cap space already. I mean, you either trade for a quarterback or bring in a free agent quarterback. They're going to want a quarterback contract, and then you draft a quarterback in the first round because that's the most surefire that there is, unless you think you can wait till the second or third round and grab a guy like Kyle Trask or grab a guy like Aldo talked about Jamie Newman earlier, or Kellen Mond, who's shown flashes out of Texas A&M, and work on that offensive line, which is another hole. Defense is aging. I love Khalil Mack, but he's 30 now. Kyle Fuller's, 28, 29. Eddie Jackson's 25, I think, 26, which isn't very old, I guess. And Danny Trevathan's over 30. So we're going to have a lot of pieces moving, especially if they're in a win now mode. It'll be an interesting offseason for the Chicago Bears to see what moves that they get made that have to be made in order to A, clear up cap space, B, try to win now. You know what I'm saying? Like Bobby was talking about earlier, if we won a couple of those closer games this year, I mean, then we're talking about a 10-win team. And I mean, we were down on the scheme already, but
I get it. The whole, you could have won a couple more games. They could have lost a couple more games too. Like,
that's true. That's true.
This team, like, even if they would have, let's say they win 10 games, 11 games, are they an 11-win football team? No way. No way. They're closer to, I think, the 6-win football team than an 8-8 team with that one sway, one way or the other, 2-game sway. I think they're closer to that. So,
we beat the Super Bowl champions, and we beat the Super Bowl champs and put up more points than the Kansas City Chiefs did.
I'm so fucking tired of hearing we beat the fucking Tampa Bay Bucks and they won the Super Bowl.
All right.
Big fucking deal.
Big fucking deal. Yeah, it is a big fucking deal, bro. We put 19 points on them. Patrick Mahomes put up 9 on them. What do you whoopty shit? That's a big deal.
I disagree. I don't fucking care. We weren't playing in the game. It don't mean shit.
I'm going to hang my hat on it. I don't give a fuck what you say, Badge.
I ain't hanging my fucking hat on shit. Till this fucking franchise figures shit out in the front office, it ain't going fucking nowhere.
I'm Badge. I'm mad.
No, I'm not mad. I'm just fucking speaking the truth.
Yeah, it's a realistic point of view. It's a realistic.
Yeah, they're fucking. I have zero confidence that they're going to get any of this right. I don't trust the board. I don't trust George and Ted. I don't trust Matt and Ryan. I have no faith that they're going to do anything to turn this franchise around to compete for a Super Bowl this season. They'll go fucking 10-6 and they'll keep pacing fucking Nagy around, but they'll be 10-6 and miss the fucking playoffs. Even if they do, I just don't have confidence that this has been just an utter shit show for far too long.
Right. And I mean, that's what history tells us, right? We know how this movie ends. We know how every season, we know what's going to happen. The hopes and dreams that are going to be built up by the team of, we're going to go do it. You know what? It's the same old, same old.
I'm an eternal optimist, always.
I love that. And I love that. And I am too. I mean, let's fast forward to September and I'll be telling you that the Bears can go undefeated. I'll be the first guy, right, in that line. But, Bobby mentioned a lot of these contracts that have come up simultaneously and kind of put us in a weird spot. That's on Ted Phillips, right? It's not just on Pace for people selection, but it's on Ted Phillips, the business guy who's supposed to be lining all this stuff up so that you can manage your salaries and manage the money better. Front office is where all the problems are tied to, and until changes are made there's no reason for us to believe that things will change or that we've turned a corner. It's just a sad reality of being a fan of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's fucking we're beating a dead horse fucking year over year.
Robbie said he was listening to old press conferences back in the Lovey days. Ted said the same shit. So he was talking about I don't remember those old press conferences. He was talking about how he liked their what's the word they used the whole time? Their collaboration, and he liked their culture even back then.
It's just they don't know what they're talking about. That's all. That's all it is. So maybe Nagy is on a hot seat. We don't know. Maybe he's not. Who knows? I think that the one thing that we can all say has been consistent is that the front office is
Me too,
relatively
4,000
cool.
Clovers.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's illegal here, and I have random drug tests, so there's that.
Yeah,
But
I just, there's normally in an off season you're looking at free agencies and guys you can bring in that are going to help improve your team. And there's guys already on this roster that could be re-signed that they can do that with.
Yeah.
That I just don't, the confidence for me is at an all-time low with the organization. I mean, it's been bad, but I just think the debacle that was that end of season,
And I think it comes down to scheme, just like it does with me, Badge. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Matt Nagy's scheme just doesn't seem to work. He just doesn't get people open. He likes to throw the ball 50 times a game. To go back to the Super Bowl, we saw it happen with the Chiefs. They had issues on O-line, and even possibly the greatest young quarterback in the league today was not able to overcome those odds with a bad offensive line. And then you have a coach who Nagy learned from, who doesn't establish the run game, doesn't try to lean on that or help his offensive linemen out. He just puts it all on their quarterback, and no quarterback can play like that. Obviously, if Mahomes couldn't do it, I mean, imagine Brady, the greatest of all time, playing behind a bad offensive line. It doesn't matter how good you are at quarterback. You're only as good as the protection you have, the weapons you have. I mean, who's better in the league than as far as one single team having weapons than what Mahomes has around him? And they didn't score a single touchdown in the Super Bowl. You've got Kelsey, probably the best tight end in the league. Tyreek Hill, the fastest, if not second or third fastest wide receiver in the league. You've got Mecole Hardman, who is exactly like Tyreek Hill. So if Hill gets hurt, you've got or run them on the field together. And none of it matters if you don't have offensive line, which we've seen a lot in the chat about fixing our O-line, fixing it through the draft. And I think that's a major point. What KB talked about earlier, trading back, grabbing an O-lineman, and then picking up extra draft capital to grab a quarterback as well. But then it comes back to scheme. Do we have the guys in place to develop a quarterback? Because we haven't seen it. We didn't see it with Mitch. We didn't see Foles playing like he did in Philly. And a lot of that had to do with offensive line. But to me, just like Badge has been saying, like he's been preaching, it goes back to the scheme. I don't like our scheme. Who do we have at wide receiver? A-Rob's probably a free agent. You got Darnell Mooney, who we drafted, and I love Darnell, but he's the only guy we got. Behind him, you got Anthony Miller and Wims, who are I heard they're going to get cut and possibly join the WWE as a tag team to follow their dreams of fighting. You've got breaking news. But who do you got, man? We don't have the weapons. We
have Riley Ridley. It's just we've never seen him.
They don't use him.
He doesn't play special teams, so he can't be on the active roster on game days because he's not really a special teamer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a fucking straight up blunder. The whole fucking organization. Fuck them all.
Fuck them all. What's up, Bobby?
I don't know, man. I'm fucking done, dude. I mean, not with it, I'm done with all this technology shit. I need to go.
Back in my day, you wrote letters back and forth to talk about the Bears.
I need to go waste this tax return on fucking new computer and shit like that, and damn, not on Bears shit anymore. Sorry. No, I'm kidding. We'll see, man. I don't know. I think a lot of shit has to happen. Like we said, the ball will drop here in a couple days with the free agency stuff, and then from there, we got till March 17th. to see what happens. I think going, as we progress, obviously things change, and we'll see what moves they decide to make. And I think the fans will be against a lot of them. And like, what the hell is this team doing? And thinking that we're able to just go out there and do, get whatever we want. We can't. We've put too much money into. You can't get rid of Mac unless you trade him. You can't get rid of Quinn unless you trade him, because the money is too heavy and guarantees for you to continue paying that. So those two are there for sure. There's just a lot of shit that I think people are expecting to happen. And I think the only things that are certain is hopefully an A-Rob tag, and that we have a different quarterback under center next year. Who that guy's going to be, who knows, man? Like, wishful thinking. Everybody wants the biggest thing available, but can we even do it? And I doubt it, man. It's going to be too hard.
I don't know. I pray for a miracle, but I mean, I just, that's the frustrating part is
Yeah.
I just
There's nothing
I'm
else.
just at a loss.
I feel
there's
like
nothing
we're all
else
in
to
that
say.
same
Like,
situation.
like we could sit here for hours trying to figure out how to solve this problem, but it ain't being solved in 2 hours, and it ain't being solved in this offseason.
Yeah. All right, well, let's wrap this thing up, man. Let's get over to shout outs. We're going to start with the man who runs the show, the guy whose name is the show. Let's start with Mr. Aaron Current.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Aldo for giving us this platform to come on here and join my weekly therapy session. The chat's been wild today, man. I watch it on my phone while I'm watching us on here. I love seeing myself. You know what I'm saying? That's why they always put me on the full screen. Shout out to man. I guess we didn't do the read this week, man. We got to do a Manscaped read or no?
Yeah, we were gonna have you do it, dude.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Hit it.
I appreciate it. Bears fans, last week was Valentine's Day. If your downstairs area wasn't ready to go, that's on you, because we've been telling you about Manscaped all season for all your grooming needs. They have the lawnmower 3.0 that it's got a little light on it. It doesn't come with a magnifying glass. You gotta figure that one out on your own, but it does have a little light on it that helps you out. It's got the crop preserver there, which I've talked about on here. It's a ball deodorant and a anti-chafing solution, which works great. They made a new cologne called Refined, which smells incredible. My wife loves it. I highly recommend that. I've already bought my second bottle of that. You got the Weed Whacker.
Man, you wear too much cologne, bro.
Nah. I just got extra just in case. You got the Weed Whacker that covers your nose and ears. And I think that's about it. Use promo code BARROOM20. You get 20% off and free shipping and handling on manscaped.com. She does not come with the package. I was a little upset when that came in, but it is what it is. And that's all my shout out. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Aldo. Shout out to Danny Shimon and Neil Stopchinski for Draft on Tap. Draft is coming up, so make sure you guys are highly prepared Bears fans going into the draft, so you'll know about quarterbacks, offensive linemen, inside linebackers has been a big thing in the chat today. Corners, if we happen to lose Kyle Fuller in a trade, or even to build some depth, cornerback is a big thing. I've been talking to a guy from UK named Kelvin Joseph, he's moving up draft boards. I'm trying to get him on the show, but he's very busy. He works with a guy that we've had on the network before, the Footwork King. He's been working with him this offseason, so he's trying to build his draft stock, and it seems to be working. He was tied for second for interceptions in the SEC this season, so he's a guy that I'm looking out for.
All right, let's kick this thing over to Mr. Mike. Mike, what you got, man? Shout outs.
Yeah, everybody that logged on this morning, everybody that logged in on a Sunday morning with no NFL football on TV, coming and spending time with us. We really appreciate it. Your comments are amazing. I think today I'm finally convinced that Doug Dyer is Bobby's burner account. So you've finally been found out. Aldo for spending his morning with us behind the scenes. And I think maybe the coolest thing I saw on the internet this week, Bobby's 20th anniversary of being in the Marines. Shout out to Bobby for the years, the service, the sacrifice for all of us. Bears fans, Packers fans can all agree that that's a big deal. So thanks for doing that, Bobby. It's pretty damn cool, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, over to Mr. Badgley. What you got, man? Shout outs.
Yeah, right off the bat, man, to you, as Mike just so eloquently put it, huge shout out to you in the 20 years, man, the time away from your family, keeping them safe and us safe, dude. I don't think I respect anybody more than you, man, for everything you've gone through, not being there with you, but knowing you're going through it and our communication with it, man. Kudos to you, Bobby. Much love and respect. The chat, you guys kill it, man. Week over week, we love having you guys in the chat with us, talking about this team, even though it's hard because we're down in the dumps and it's frustrating, and then seeing the cap and not knowing what the hell we're going to do. We appreciate you guys. Aldo, always appreciate you putting stuff together for us for the show, communicating during the week and giving ideas and ways to make it better. We can't thank you enough for that. And to Mike, AC, and KB, man, pleasure hanging out with you this morning.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, shout out to all you guys. Thanks for that. Yeah, I hit 20 years of active military service on February 19th. So February 19th hit 20 years. And from here on, man, it's everything else is just a bonus, But I'm staying. I'm sticking it out a little longer. We'll see where we climb from here. And who knows, just continue. I love doing it. Continue. Granted, sometimes it sucks, right? Being away for holidays and being away from your family and all that sucks. But like I've told Badge and the guys before, I'm pretty sure that's the only reason I'm still married, because all the time.
Hoorah!
Because if she had to stick it out with me the whole time, dude, she'd have been gone a long fucking time ago. But, of course, thank you to her and thank you to the girls for everything that they've been through and, continuing to support and be by my side. Thank you to Mr. Aldo Gandhi. No, I'm not running for president. That would be horrible, dude. I'll run for president of the Bears organization if that's a thing. But
I'll be your vice.
I ain't putting those demons on me. But yeah, man, it's been great. Honestly, it's been great. Best decision I've ever made, hands down. I was doing some dumb shit in Chicago, like I'm sure everybody can relate to, and I had to get the hell out of there, man. So it's been the best decision. I'm just going to call you CTI. Thank you, CTI, the inspector in there. I don't know why, because I drop F-bombs like crazy. But either way, man, thank you guys all for joining us, for your continued support. We greatly appreciate it. Make sure, tomorrow night we got Dan and Aldo bare their souls with Mr. Greg Braggs Jr. making an appearance.
Excellent show.
Our room coming
Make sure
back.
Aldo and Dan kill it, man.
A long show.
Yeah.
It's such a good show, though. If you haven't checked it out, man, you got to check it out. Aldo and Dan, freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming for you guys. There's a Bull show is going to kick off on the Barroom Network soon. We got, if you're a White Sox fan, we got the South Burbs Hitmen coming at you with Chris Gonzalez and Mr. Joey Two Scoops Mandel. They're going to be running that one. You got the Friendly Confines for you Cub fans. So check that out. They had Mike Wilbon on a couple weeks ago. And then, as always, you got Mr. Mike North giving you your betting advice and just loving things, man. Mr. John Buffon with Buffon 55. You got all this. Alyssa Barbieri, Tyler Ellis. You got all these guys joining, man, and everybody's got something for you on the Barroom Network. So we appreciate you guys, and we get it, man. Like I always say, we're just a couple fanalists. right? We're just a couple finalists. We say what we feel and what we think is going to happen. Sometimes try to get away from the whole negativity of that gets spewed around. But sometimes it's just inevitable, man. And negative things happen. So we're there to talk about it and go with it. But we greatly appreciate all your guys' support. And I guess look at that. Look at that face on it. This looks like a fucking baseball mitt, just fucking beat up and old.
But those legs, on the other hand.
The last thing I'll say, I mean, you guys know how this thing is and how we do. We just hop on live, right, and get after it. And I want to give a shout out to our boy KB, who you guys know he's an active fireman. He was on the show earlier, and the alarms went off, man. And of course, drop what he's doing. He's got to get there and go put out some fires, man, or go whatever the call was. Who knows? But nothing but respect to you, KB, and we appreciate it, man. And we'll just leave this thing like we always do. Oh wait, next week? Next week I'll be in Cali, so I don't know if I'm gonna hop in on the show. I might miss you guys next week, but the only thing you're really going to miss is some mics crackling and me bouncing out and hopping back in.
I mean, it's like I told you, it's my show anyway. I appreciate you when you can make it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then at the beginning of March, either way, in the near future, we're going to have Mr. Eric Lambert joining us from Sports Mockery. He's going to come in, and kick it with us and hit some stuff. So we'll see where that brings us. Another Bears fanatic who just gets after it, man. And so we look forward to that coming up. And that is not live on the scenes with KB, but that's what he's getting into. So, and I'll just leave it at that, man. Appreciate everybody joining us, and we're going to leave this with a big old bear down.
Bear down.
Bear down.
Thank you.